gentlemen, welcome to episode 2 of Bowls Breakdown podcast, and we're delighted to have our guest today, Mr. Jamie Flynn, and the one and only Mr. Billy Flynn. My name is Mike Rees, and this is my son.
Hello everyone, welcome.
Matthew.
Right.
Okay, so gentlemen, thanks for coming. It's a real pleasure to be able to sit down and have a chat with both of you about bowls. It's going to be an interesting next hour or so. We've got a couple of questions. If you're nothing too difficult, you can always pass if you don't answer any questions. It's not a problem. Okay. So I suppose the big one is we're recording now, and it's pre the under-18 series up in Falkirk. And obviously this is going to be published, it will probably be later in the month. Yeah, so it'll be after this. So just to explain to everybody, that's where we are. So Billy, we'll start with you because next weekend, week today, you'll be captaining Wales under-18s indoors. How does it feel, buddy?
Yeah, I captain the outdoors as well, but it's new. I've been in the under-18s quite a bit now, but it's nice always to have that name as captain, and it's always there. Like,
it's a great honour, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what? I actually read last night. You and Lauren Vine were the captain, vice captain outdoor in Pont last year.
Yeah.
We'd already planned to sit down and put some questions to you and thinking, it's his first time captain. And late last night, I found, he was captain last year.
Yeah.
But it's still a great honour, isn't it?
It doesn't matter how many times you've done it. If it's the first, it's still just as good as the rest of the time. It's like,
yeah.
And James, now have you been played for Wales?
So indoors now, this will be my 5th. So I started in 2019 in the Clyde. Then I went to Barley Breaks 2022. Solihull then, it was the same year, but because of COVID, it was like so Solihull, Sully last year, and then obviously it's Falkirk.
And that's just under 18s then, is it?
That's just indoors. So outdoors, I've done 3 outdoors then. So I got one more, and I got one more outdoors, and then 2 including this one indoors.
So what age were you when you represented Wales is the question, I suppose?
I was 11 in the first one, so I came on as a reserve.
I've had a look at some of the photos of you at 11, Billy, and they're ones you want to forget, innit? Yeah. So I was going to bring you in just now, Jamie. Obviously, as a dad, your son playing for Wales, but now captaining Wales must be a great honour.
To be honest, it's been amazing right through the journey. From the early days, as a dad, you've got to protect lots of things. But many years ago, Steve Rees was running, the team manager for Wales, and I didn't think Billy was quite ready at that time of being a 10-year-old then. Wasn't quite ready, and we took him down to sort of show and watch the lads, playing Swansea. And Steve Rees said, "What are you doing?" He said, "That boy's good enough now." And he went and he grabbed a couple of sets of balls to see what he could do, and Billy had been playing a while, and Steve Rees gave him a little opportunity, and he trialled, and so seeing him grow through from that young age right through as a dad and as a parent, and like I say, as a bowler sort of thing, it was so nice and an honour really, and such a proud moment, especially now as captain.
You cry?
To be honest, when he first did his captain, I'd certainly, yes.
Bottom lip was going a bit.
No, I cry because I saw the shot choice and stuff.
I'm glad he said that, Matthew.
There were no spoilers.
I'm glad we're going to come on to them later on.
Yeah, but as I say, as like a former player, such and things, and as a journey with obviously things have been difficult for him as a kid watching me go through things, and then the honour has been of waiting as a parent, trying to control and say, look, things may not go your way early doors, you may not get in, things like that. Don't be disappointed. It's a game you've got to play through. And then we've been fortunate enough that, he's managed to do the business and, well, in fact, do more than the business enough to get to junior level and going through, and it's been a great honour, a great surprise, very emotional, I can say, certain times, very stressful. And thankfully got Claire, with his mum and my wife, she's been very, very good to all this. supportive, and
You're never in the house. You must be pleased, man.
well, that's the problem. Yeah, I think she knows the inside and outside of these soaps. So
That's a good. What you just mentioned something there, Jamie. Good advice for some parents, and is we're getting younger bowlers started.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'd like to have more younger bowlers bowling, but some good advice there for parents to, if they don't succeed straight away, just keep them going. Yeah, because there are great opportunities in bowls for both boys and girls at the current time, and then and if you just keep them going and be patient with them and keep them positive, it will come through at the end, isn't it?
definitely, it's
Great.
So
we move on, I suppose, from under.
We move on from under 18.
Yeah, on under 18s, because you're still only 16.
16.
Yeah, not far off. 17
yeah.
driving to clear the roads at the end of the month.
Yeah, wash out.
But you're also represented Wales under 25s for a few seasons, haven't you?
Yeah. So first indoor cap was last year in Glasgow. It was brilliant. I trialled the same year as my under 18s, so obviously in the age of 11, young golf. But it's with the under 18s, like Dad said, I was really lucky. I trialled once and got in.
Yeah.
But for the under 25s, it was nice. It sort of kept you into shape, because you don't walk into things, like that's never going to happen. And it was nice to trial a couple of times and just keep at it. And that's what a lot of people, they don't get in and they sort of give up.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. As long as you keep on knocking on the door, such as you just got to keep on putting it to them. And so obviously I first capped under 25 in Glasgow indoors. I got called up outdoors, not last season, the season before. Obviously I went in the original side, but then I got called up last minute, so it was good. The team won. I didn't put a ball down, but it felt really good. It's great atmosphere, great team to be a part of with the boys, and especially with the three rinks it's under 25 outdoors. It brings a different sort of, because it's less, it brings a different atmosphere, but it's brilliant.
And better off the green than on the green, so I believe. We won't go there though, will we?
No,
let's not go there.
yeah, let's go there.
Also, you're talking about the differences in under 18s and under 25s. Obviously, under 18s for you got them very young, and it's just been steady. Then it's not really been something that I think. I know you still got obviously perform, but none of us are going to be surprised if you get picked for an under 18s team with how good you are as a bowler. But obviously that under 25 teams, right? You talked about it. Can you talk about some of the differences? Obviously, from the under 18s being captain, obviously outdoor, going into indoor, having to be that leader of the team, and then to an under 25 team where you're almost not quite that leader, but you still got to participate in the team. What kind of the differences between the two then for you?
This under 25s is like going for, with me now getting started in under 25s, it's like me starting in under 18s again as such. So I started under 18s leading, and then so obviously when getting in the under 25s, outdoors I led. I hadn't led for good few seasons, and once I put my lead into second, I really play second, and then obviously outdoors I back end a lot. Going back to the mat sort of brought it all back to the start, then it brings your game. And then obviously with the leaderships, I don't think it really matters if you lead the under 18s, lead the under 25s, etc., etc. If you've got that in you, you use it anyways. Because it's such a step from under 18s to under 25s. You need that experience anyways to be prepared for it. So yes, it's different, but it's good to have it with you as well.
Obviously, the level of bowls goes up that extra bit of notch as well than you'd expect, obviously, with the age difference, the experience difference. What was it like kind of playing? Obviously, you said you played 5 times now for under 18s. Is it still kind of one of those things when you go to those under 25 competitions that you're like, I've got to switch on a bit more now because these are where the really good players are coming into play?
The level across all of the internationals. It's a good standard. With the under 18s, I think with the difference between under 18s and 25s is the consistency.
Mm-hmm.
With under 18s, you'll get a good bowl, say every 1 or 2 bowls. Like with under 25s, it's every bowl, and you play the experience level of the players is such higher as well. Like you talking like I played Darren Weir twice now, and you look what he's done in the game already with the world, etc., etc. You've got to sharpen your game up, but you've got to keep it sharp for either one. Then you just got to keep trying. Obviously, it's different because I play back end under 18s, and obviously, like I said, outdoors I left. So it's such a different game anyway. But with that, like with the under 25s, you draw, and you just play the shots and leave the worldy balls, the players at
the back.
At the back, like, you just give them the chance.
I want to cover just a couple of things. We don't mind, man. They're massive interrupting you. We talk about positions, yes. We're hoping that a lot of new bowlers will listen to the podcast and what have you, yeah. And Jamie, you can come in here. What's the difference to tell them? What's the difference between lead, second, third? Because there is a difference in every position, isn't there? A real difference in every position.
Yeah. Personally, I think today the game has changed.
Yeah.
There's a modern game now, and like, you know, not an old-fashioned way, but personally, I think now the youngsters, like, you know, back in the day when I was sort of that level of youngsters sort of coming through the game, we were always told different by older fellas of the game, you know, no disrespect, but a lot of the old men wouldn't change their views.
Mm-hmm.
And like we were always taught as a lead that before you put him go into a game, you throw your jacks, you practice your jacks, and you don't see that these days, you know, a lot of, you know, but everything has changed. You know, leads done a job as best they could, seconds then, but now the second man are more aggressive. The skips now are more younger, not so much younger, a bit more, I don't know, changed, and the game is modernised, and there's a lot more weight played early on from you know, international level.
Yeah.
Club level, like I say, you know, leads and seconds are just out there draw playing, really, you know. And then the third and skip, you know what I mean. I do find now bowls are sort of declined in numbers, which is sad right across all levels of bowls. And I feel that the younger element are pushed back into the club position a bit too early. And I just don't know criticism to anybody. It's just I feel that they need to sort of get their experience. You know, we had our experience as lead and second. And when you get that little ability there, they put you midweek up, etc., etc. But today now I find that the third and the skips possibly should be playing front end a bit more to develop these skills. But you know, it's the way that the numbers are declining, sadly. And the youngsters, to be honest, now they got no fear now. The class, you know, I don't want to sort of name names, but the class is, you know.
We're going to come on to that a bit later on again. We're going to come back there. Do you agree with your father there, Billy?
Yeah.
Billy, you took an easy option out there, didn't you? Only for now.
Yeah, it's with positions. I agree, totally agree. People are getting pushed up, and the problem I see as well, they're getting pushed up with the wrong people as well.
Okay.
Like, I'm quite lucky in the club I am, especially outdoors, indoors. You got so many internationals. Like last year, William third. William's not like he was.
William, you're going to have to...
William Thomas.
Well, William Thomas.
Right, okay.
Right,
so we're going to come on to your club later on, because I've got a couple of things to talk about. You Pont event, isn't it? Yeah, very proud. I was expecting you to have your Pont event shirts on this morning coming through the door there. But you didn't. So, yeah, we're going to talk about Pont event. But go on, but sorry, Billy, you're...
Yeah, like obviously William Thomas, captain Wales, 100 caps, indoor out, he's done so much. And so last year he was third to me. Yes, there was arguments of me getting pushed up too early, but you can't go too wrong with the experience. I had Dad leading, we had multiple twos, and then we had William 3. You can't go too wrong when you got someone. But then in like say the weaker clubs, you haven't got
that experience.
You haven't got that one or two people that'll keep you in shape then and keep your game in order.
They keep you in shape?
Yeah.
Ish, is it? We're going to come on. We can't wait for this then later on. But we're going to hold it. We're going to hold it back, man.
Yeah, so obviously we want to... You represented Wales under 18s, you've represented Wales under 25s. Senior team is the next one for us, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, I can't remember. Have you haven't got into the full or have you got into the full senior team yet?
No, it's trials still going. So we've had 2 trials. They called obviously there's a new setup this year. The squad. So I'm reserved for that squad. So it's basically another trial for the actual thing.
So obviously we know how good you are as a bowler, and obviously that full team then is obviously that much harder to get into than that under 25s. Obviously, last couple of years is where you've started to break into that under 25. So, my question for you would be kind of what's next for you to try and get yourself breaking into that full team, if that's something obviously you're looking to do in the next couple of years?
We've had conversations this year. Again, we go back to positions then. So obviously for Talbot, I've been skipping, and we could see it coming from the start. You lost a lot of pointers, and coming back from the under 25 series, I was lucky to have a really good series leading, and I sort of found the love for leading again and drawing all the time, and it sharpened my game up then. And we had so many conversations about me possibly going to the mat to try and break into the senior side. If I'm on the mat, lead. But then there was 2 sides as well then. It was the other side that, one, you've got to think of the team as well. If I should be skipping, in my head, if it helps us winning, I'd rather go and win for the team then. But then the other side, I've been lucky to have played well this season, I think, and getting some good results. So without having these results, I don't know if my game would be as good with the confidence, etc.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of discussion of whether we both said I should be leading at the start of the season, and it
Can it been a sec? It's a real strange one, as
you're in that middle ground, like you said, lead. We know how good. I know how good you are as a player, but I've been lucky enough to play with you a handful of times, right? And I know how much you've said you want to be leading again, because that's kind of where you fell in love with playing again. We all know how good you can draw. We all know how good you can play those fire shots. But like you said, it's one of those strange positions for you, because you are so good in the level that we've got in the club that you're always going to help us at the back end.
Yeah.
But then obviously for yourself then, that lead position is going to be something you want to be looking at.
It's the thing. It was the thing of whether or not me actually leading is whether or not it'll help me to get to that senior side, whether it'll improve my game. And like this year, the carpet on Talbot is a lot different, completely different to any other green, apart from the odd few. So if I'm leading on the Talbot, is it going to expose me a little bit on other carpets? There's a lot of factors that came down to it.
Well, you've played pretty much everywhere. I can tell you now for a fact you're good enough not to have it affect you.
Yeah, but
see now in Cardiff, we played next year in Cardiff. You played. I know the scoreline probably didn't reflect it, but you played well and you got
Cardiff was Cardiff was wild. I thought I played really well, and I come off a green 28-10. I thought, wow, what a game! I think I was the happiest person there to come out 28-10 lost.
From the Talbot, you were the happiest anyway.
Honestly, it was like I come off the green, and I'm obviously not happy to lose, but then I thought, well, hey, it could have easily been 50-60, and it could have been. But that's the thing, like we said about me skipping, with us losing a lot of players in Talbot, is it exposing? And if I had lost 58-60, whatever it was, it doesn't have a good look, especially on the Facebook. If you put up, we lost, etc., etc. If you don't see the game, it just looks like
scoreline doesn't reflect the actual game now and again.
So have you in your head set a sort of a time scale that you want to break into this senior team this year?
I haven't set. Every year, like this year, want to break in. Next year, want to break in. And
Well, we've got a podcast going out. Next one going out is going to be Nicky Jones. We spoke to Nicky, and Nicky spoke about you on that podcast as he did with Elijah.
Yeah.
And he identified the two of you as, it's not going to be long before you two are going to break through from the under 25s up into the senior team.
Seniors is one of them things. As far as if you're playing competitive bowls, you always want to be in that senior side, no matter if you've been there, done it. I think the senior side is ultimately what you want to get to and everyone's aim. And obviously, me and Elijah are young, but there's no difference to us, to Nicky, to Ross Owen. They all want to get in the senior side.
Yeah,
that's the top. That's the aim. And whether that's next year, this year, 5 years, that's what you want to do. And it's hard to put a time scale as a player. You want to do it as soon as you can.
The thing with bowls is you're never going to be able to kind of affect other person's performances. Like if someone's just bowling better, there's not much you can do as long as you've done what you can do and try to get in. That's kind of all you can do in sports.
Well, hopefully next weekend we'll have that live streaming going, and we'll be able to showcase you and a couple of others on live streaming. So good.
Well, and you've got to shape up because in a year's time the Commonwealth Games is in Glasgow. So Bowls is back in the Commonwealth Games, so we're going to be aiming for that. But me and you players in the Commonwealth Games.
Jamie, what kids and dreams of that. Okay. So I think we move on, and what we want to do next is we want to go through the story of bowls, really. So we're going to start with your dad, how your dad started, and then how you think, because your dad's not a half-bad bowler either, is he? He's not a half-bad bowler either. So, what did it start for you, Jamie?
Many years ago, back 85, 86, my mate across the road, Julian Austin, Welsh bowls will know him for his ability and his ways. But he came over to knock at door years, like say back then, in 85, 86. And it ended up, we went on Vivian Park, which, where Arbor plays, and where John Price was actually, and Harry, basically, we had, children wasn't really, not allowed, but they had to be with parents, etc. One of the things back in the day. We started bowling. We had a little talent within a couple of days, if we were honest. The old clubs and pubs, if you remember, used to chuck out people in at a certain time on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And we ended up having a little dabble against them for £1. Enough money, basically, to pay for our season ticket. And so then, of course, the boys who were bowlers, they were coming on to us, do you fancy, joining us, that sort of thing. And I went quite loyal. My father used to play many years ago, back in the 70s, and I went to join Vivian Park, where my father had played for, and my mate Austin went across there to Aberafon, and so there was always rivalry between me and him, and I, like I said, we've been best mates for all them years. And then we got into the side, and the excitement of looking at the team sheet that used to be posted in the window then. Mm-hmm. You'd be gutted if you reserve, and the reserve meant you had to make the sandwiches. And as a kid, that wasn't the sort of thing you wanted to do, But then things got, like lots of ways with Billy. We had trials. We did have under 18 sort of events, but nothing Welsh level. Managed to win something to qualify to West Glamorgan, and we went to Pwllheli in a caravan on an outdoor surface, a sort of a carpet on an outdoor surface, like all sort of weathered surface. Yeah. And then you just had the bug, you know what I mean? You mitch off school, jump the fence, go and have a game of bowls, wait for the park keeper to go, that sort of thing. Totally wrong, but not damaging nothing, just literally, and just wanting to beat and compete so much as a kid, Well, a touch of lucky in lots of ways. I had to go, not have to go work, but you needed money as a kid, so I go behind the bar and this and that then, and just subsidise enough to get a car on the road then when you get older to go to trials, and stayed with Vivian Park for a few years, and then I think I felt that I needed to go to a slightly better, and the boys I grew up with taught me everything. Like I said earlier, you bowling jacks, you play Leeds, and then I sort of met Mr. Price then through, joining Aberraven, and I stayed with John for indoor and outdoor for many years, leading for John, and then...
You're not a bad person to lead for, is it?
Well, no, this is it, and this is like 3 days before John won the world, but John is class. But to be fair, there's so many class players in our Aberraven side, and everybody willing to show and help and practice. Unfortunately, the greens, they're not standard, they were, that's just the way it is. But we had a fantastic green, Vivian Park Aberraven green was fantastic. And you would have 3 sessions of practice from Monday, Monday to Friday. You'd have your 12 till 2, you have your 2 till 4, and then 6 till the parkkeeper kicked him out, basically. And in between that, you lost in again. Played 100 singles matches in between all your tournaments, all your county games, club games, international trials, etc. So things were different then, you know what I mean? It was like, we grew up in, in an area where there was plenty to do. We had the beach, we had this and that, but, we could do that before the park opened. And, and then sadly, as you get older, things change. And it was amazing. I had a great,
So when did Billy come along in this venture then?
Well, like I say, when Bill, I got a video on my phone, which is quite very interesting.
I think I've seen it actually.
You've seen it? Yeah. He's a little dut.
Loves that video.
Yeah, I do love the video, I'll be honest, because there's a lot of, like, you know what I mean, like I was always taught back in the day, get things right from the start. You know what I mean? If you get your grip, your delivery, your stance, everything. You got kids today, naturally gifted, they don't know, hey, you're no fart now, excuse me, but,
No, you're all right, mate.
Yeah, it's like, so he's on the mat, and it's a real interesting in his feet position, and his arm was wobbling, you know what I mean? And so that was he was probably about the age of 6 then, you know what I mean? So it was a nice...
Is that when he started then, at the age of 6?
Yeah, I would have thought, yeah.
And where was that? What club were you there?
That was indoor in Talbot.
Right.
In Talbot, they looked after us in lots of ways, you know what I mean, with the council, etc. You could, the boys running the committee, Martin, and people like that, who would, he's allowed on air for sort of, you know what I mean? And there was a good junior section in Talbot at that time. There was a lot of young, good sort of junior internationals, and then of course Billy there was a touch too young to be sort of involved. But we used to take him, Claire and myself and his mother, take him down Sunday morning in Talbot, and it was awesome, lovely. They put a bit of food on and things like this, and so the environment he was in was good. And of course then playing like Billy had the same. Billy then, as a very young lad, played lead for John in the stadium side.
John Price?
John Price, yeah.
Big John Price influence on the family, isn't it?
Yeah,
He's the guy you look at. You've got there's so many people around Wales, but John's one of them. Like so obviously you've been playing with Dad, and then coming to Talbot, you got a world champion in your stadium. Alongside so many other people you look up to, and a lot of it, you see him on the telly and everything, like you think, oh, he is the guy, and he's such a nice guy as well. Like,
yes, he is indeed, yeah.
I just want to say something, and it is quite important, really. The bowls is not popular amongst youngsters, right? And I took a little bit of grief in school back in the day. I was fortunate enough in school that my mates were tidy, but he always had the head case that every school gets, yeah? And he said to me, why are you playing bowls then? I played football, I played cricket, I played everything when I was physically well enough to do it. And then I said to them in school, I said, right, how many world champions do you know? What do you mean? And they were like, they didn't understand. Well, I said, where I go, where I play, I said, I know 3 world champions. What do you mean? And I named them. You know what I mean? And they were like, so they then took, oh, what's going on here? What do you mean? Fleming's playing with world champions here. So then a couple of them lads then realised that it's not an old man sport like it's had attacks over the years, isn't it?
Yeah.
And of course then, when I was going into school then and this and that, when I was allowed a little bit of time off if you had a big game, they taught a different look at things then, yeah. I'm not lying to you, like I said, I used to say I was going to church and I go to play balls. I won't lie to you, you know what I mean? But it was the keenness of it. So I think with youngsters today, it is slightly changing, Do I agree with all this change? No. But I'm an old man compared to the youngsters coming through now. So I've had to change my ways as well. But to be fair, like I said, I wouldn't change it for the world now.
Yeah.
But it's so nice now that I see there's so many talented, young, and, they feel us now.
And you know what, that's a good little tip for any youngster out there who's bowling and having any grief in school. Just turn around and say, yeah, how many Welsh champions and internationals do you know and play regularly in your sport with? Because it is a really good point. That
you obviously guys know I was a big golfer, right? And I had the same problem in school, right? When I was even in Billy's age, there was 3 of us in my school that played golf, and we had 1,100 faculty and students, and only 3 of us played golf. Got a lot of grief for it. Old man sport, blah blah blah. You get it all the time.
Yeah.
Every kid that said that growing up to me now plays golf,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But the good, I guess the interesting thing with me is golf was on the trajectory that kind of bowls is on at the moment. Golf kind of hit a little bit of an older market where you've got quite a few older people, but then when they got into it and they're getting kids and stuff and they start playing, those kids are starting to play golf earlier and earlier and stuff. And bowls is kind of on that kind of same little, maybe not as big as what golf did, especially COVID helped golf out massively, but you can start seeing those twinges, what happened with golf for bowls, like, the Welsh schools have now named bowls as part of the GCSE curriculum, like last year.
You're late.
A year late for you, yeah. But that's a big step forward, Loads of people now going into schools. I know, obviously, we talked about it with Nicky, but the Caerphilly schools do a lot. Obviously, at Simbergen, we've just started going into schools and opened up our own academy because of it, right? So
I had it in my school last year.
Did you?
I didn't have a clue what was happening. I've gone in and they were like, "Oh, there's bowls happening and curling." Like they have obviously adapted curling, but I was apparently there bowls in there. I was like, "Oh." Great, I didn't have a clue.
It's just I didn't play for Wales or anything.
Couldn't tell you.
Oh, you didn't go?
No, I didn't know until afterwards. I was like, I thought, lesson up here, go in, perfect. But turns out, no.
Play left-handed, is it? Give him a chance.
But the big thing for me, especially we went into the schools last year. Obviously, we're going to do it again this year. But last year, you go into these schools, and we went to primary school. So you're talking 7 to 7 to 11 age.
They were the older ones, I think. They were sort of 9, 10.
Yeah, 9, 10. But you'll see a lot of them now. Rugby and football don't have the influence in Wales like it used to, especially when probably you guys grew up, and that's all it was. And for me, it's a little bit the same, right? I think you might have probably been on the back end of it, where rugby, football was that big too.
I think ultimately, rugby and football are always going to be up there because especially they're probably the 2 main sports. You've got football all over the world, so many superstars. Rugby, in my opinion, is not on the level of football.
No.
But that's to argue. But I think it's going to be hard in any sport to overturn and go higher than them. But it's definitely not the sport that everyone does.
Yeah, it's not big. It's not as big of an influence or like a need to play anymore. You're getting a lot of people who are willing to branch out now. You've got tennis is on the big, cricket's on the big, darts now with obviously Luke Littler coming through, right? You've got so many more people seeing exposure to these sports. Cricket has the T20s and the new whatever they did had the 100. That's the one, right? Darts obviously on the telly and the atmosphere that grows. Bowls again, it's behind a little bit on that, but it's starting to give loads more people streaming on YouTube, right? You got the BPL, you got the Super Loop Ultimate Bowls League that came on last year. What are they doing at the moment? They've got the World Indoor Bowls prelims in Guernsey happening on YouTube at the moment. it's starting to kind of give a
The
platform.
open single circuit.
Open single
That's
circuit.
a massive, because there's a lot of youngsters coming through. Now you've got, like, obviously, you've got Finn Williamson now, 17, my age, maybe a year older, playing in the grand final. Like, and then you had one of my mates, Louis. He got to Dolphin held one of the open singles tournaments, and he got to the final against Martin Puckett, one of the biggest ones. And alongside, like, you've got Tall Shad, you've got Jamie Walker, etc. But he's playing against Martin Puckett. It's ultimately the same. Maybe he hasn't done, but he's still class. Like, and playing against them sort of boys brings exposure. There's so many opportunities building now.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to do with the live streaming and with this podcast, is to give exposure to younger players in the game, and that's why your story is a really interesting story of a family involved in bowls for many, many years.
Well, and the background you get, obviously being with JP and JP being the voice of world bowls for a long time, having that influence in the two of you.
I only ever met him. First time I met him was last year.
Yeah.
I'd only ever heard him on the telly.
But going, like you said, to exposure to other sports, right? I don't think it's just the students and the youngsters, but the teachers are also getting more exposed to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like darts, then obviously Luke Littler is going, but the teachers. So in my old school now, you've got a Welsh teacher doing darts. Like he's now
In Welsh? No, it was just a joke.
But you've got them, like, obviously, because he's been exposed. He's played darts, but you've got, like, for the lesser ability kids, then darts is a great outlet during lessons. You can use it in other ways. So if you say you've done this sort of work, I would give a dart. It brings a lot more than just doing that actual sport then, and that's what you possibly bring in with bowls and golf, etc.
Speaking of teachers, we were quite lucky last year. We went into Litchfield School. It's literally down the road from us. It's a minute down the road in a car, and 3-minute walk really for us. We got in there because one of our old teachers that taught us growing up just started playing bowls, right? So he entered us in, and then he was the deputy head teacher, and then the head teacher just so happened to be Nicky's brother, who's obviously a very good bowls player. So you talk about the teacher influence, and once the teachers show that willingness and that excitement for something, you get all of the kids. Like, we had people who were football, rugby players doing rugby football in the PE time, coming in going, I want to do rugby next. Can I do this next week? I want to try this next week, right? And these are like your popular kids or whatever you might want to call them, that wanted to try out bowls because you've got 2-3 teachers really excited about trying to get this thing done, right? So that's a good point. And obviously Dale, now you guys have you met Dale? He plays
Dale
with
Richards.
Dale Richards. He plays with Dad on Friday night.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's how he used to be our old teacher, but he also knows Mikey Brent.
Because he was brought up with Mikey's father.
Yeah.
Up in Nanty way. I might get that wrong. Sorry if I got that wrong, Dale. No, it's good, isn't it? It's good.
So obviously, let's go back to the journey, because I do want to touch on it. Last year, outdoor season, you were named captain for your outdoor club, weren't you?
Yeah.
How was that for because you were 15 going on to 16, or were you 16 by then?
I was 16 then.
16.
With Pont, the way to get captains, I don't know how it works in other clubs, but you get nominated in the AGM, but you have to go through a season of being a vice captain to then go to captain. So me getting elected to captain was 2 years before.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a nice, like I said, touching back, like, our club's massive, got so many players, and then to be the captain of the club it was proud and massive for me, like. And Pont goes throughout Welsh Bowls, and the boys that's in it still competing. It was mad to be a part of that, and then obviously to lead them as well then. And with captain, yes, you're the leader, but there's so many leaders anyway. But to be that one and it'll always be named is massive. And to win. It was a tough year last year. We had no green, and yes, we had a disappointing colours, but to win the two internal county leagues without having a green, playing every game away, is massive. And like Pont-Aven's a club that I find a lot of people want to get at, and it's hard. It is really hard when you get in things talked, but to win the league is massive, and to hold our own without like having our green is, you can't argue with it in my opinion.
Obviously, we play the EPG in Bridgend. Luckily we managed to get promoted this year into Division 4, but you get it all the time, right? Teams come down to us and they can bowl on our green, and then you go away and you're struggling to beat them, and away that home green's a little bit of a fortress. So when you're without the green, going away and having to win a league, not playing on a green you're so familiar with, and having to adjust week in, week out, that's unbelievable. I mean, that's in itself just an achievement.
And it's hard, but it's not just the bowls. It's a lot more to having a home green. Is after the game, being a part of that team, having food after the game. For all our home games, bar few, we were thankful because they asked for your food and we said no. But regardless, some clubs done it, and we didn't have that going back every Saturday for a couple of pints of food. It brings a lot more to the team, and then to still travel everywhere, not even on a Saturday, like in the midweek. We lost 2 games last year. One was against Resolve, one earlier season, and then the other one was against TikTok, late season. And we played in TikTok on a Thursday night in the pitch black. It's a lot, it's to having boys coming from work, etc., to still take them results is a lot. A lot of people don't see the side of it then.
There's a bigger thing there as well, Jamie, and it's you've got to green and the revenue. You've got to think of the revenue that you're going to take through a season. And that's a big knock for a club, So to come out of that now, and this year, obviously, back on your home green.
Yeah, we back. Boys are working hard up there now. We've got the green sort of relayed, etc. Whatever they the new water system. Boys are there as we speak today now, working hard, trying to get things ready. And it was like I say, it was a big ask. Beneath the top of the league, like a lot of leagues, sadly, I've slightly declined in lots of ways, but it's still a very strong league, and the first division is very exceptional, and it was nice, and especially the father was Billy captain a club with, like I say, so many greats. There's too many to name, you know what I mean? And yes, it was amazing to watch him and the way he performed and managed,
Is Pont your original club that you went to when you started?
So obviously with Dad playing there, there was talks of going to other clubs in it, because Pont-Aven was at such a good level. Didn't know if I was going to...
Well, I can admit him now. Like I said, I'm trying to ground him as a younger lad. And I didn't really want them getting the upsets of not playing in what was, one of the best sides, And I thought it's unfair for him to be coming and watching the boys playing and sort of not getting selected to be not quite ready. And then, of course, I was told quite, by one of the Iron Thomas, I can name Iron the legend in the game himself. And he said, "What are you talking about? That boy's going nowhere." He said, "He's staying with us right through." And of course, the first game.
So you were dropped, were you?
Yeah. Can't do the stairs.
But we played for 2 clubs, didn't we?
Yeah.
We play for another club in the private greens. It's not the same private greens as you, but we play. But Pont-Aven, I could play for any club, and when I'm on that green, I want to win, and I am them. But Pont-Aven I would say, is the club I started, and the club I am Pont-Aven. I play for Pont-Aven. I love Talbot just as much, but when it comes down to the rock bottom, I'm Pont-Aven.
Yeah. So how long have you been playing at Pont-Aven then, Jake?
Myself, like I said, I left Aberravon probably the millennium.
Okay.
around there, around the 2000s. We were living then closer to Pont, and I felt back in the time when my health was good that I was trying to get Welsh capped. Never came about. I'm not saying that and be honest with you, class act around, around. So I Pont, fortunate enough I captained Pont, and it was nice to see them. Billy come through and do exactly, but I don't want to sound rude to our boys at all, but I think I played in an era where we were sort of, we won the Cruthers, 4 or 5 times.
I'm going to come on to that. Come on to that in a second. Now.
We mentioned it now, since you brought it up. Obviously, we found that Pont was the first club ever to win the Cruthers 3 times in a row.
Right, okay.
Between 2004 and 2006.
Yeah.
And it was the 6th title of the Cruthers in 8 years.
Which is
hard.
Did you know that? He's looking at your face. You didn't know that, Billy.
He was barely born by that.
I do know, and the only fact that obviously Dad was captain of 2 of them, he back-to-back captain the 2005 and 6.
Yeah.
Great achievement, that, isn't it? Because I've done a lot of research on the Cruthers and different things, and a lot of people hold the Cruthers as the pinnacle in team bowls in Wales, in it, and to win that 3 years on the trot and be captain, which I didn't know, as I didn't find that in the newspaper articles I read. That's a great achievement, but
I felt lucky. First of all, being accepted in the great club was with like you said about John and the boys I played with back in Abraham. But Pont, they had so many great sort of, I think at the time we played in the Cruthers, that everybody was an international at some sort of level. If it was junior or senior, things like that. It was such a good quality of team. And then, like Billy said earlier, our AGM, we were a policy: if you become captain, you become vice captain. The first year, and then the following year you become the captain. And one of the lads with us, unfortunately, had a bit of a hand injury. So he played the first sort of game, and then of course he couldn't play. So they put me then as acting captain, and of course we went on our notorious runs that we used to do back in the day, and it was to be honest, it's slightly upsetting, because that's one thing I always wanted to do with Aberafan was win a Cruthers, and I was fortunate to be with Pont and we won it. And it was, I'll never forget the moment. But to captain, them boys have won World Championships, Commonwealth members.
They were winning it at the time as well. Like they were won it. They were in the moment as well.
There was many a moment where you think, as you sort of, games, as boys, gets tight at certain levels. No matter what sort of standard, whatever is tight, and and the times that we were behind in a few games, and there was never, you see it now with other sides, they all little nip at each other, have a bite, this and that, what you do with. Pont wasn't about that then. It was about just putting your hand on your shoulder and saying, listen now, it's your game at the moment, let's do the business, don't panic. And that's one thing we never did, was look at the ends, and that's very important. We would look at the ends and we chase the score. And we would always never look at the ends, because you knew, you play your bowls, them ends would take over then, and we get back into the game. And we had superstars. We had world-class superstars that at that time, things move on, things change, sadly people pass on. But then they were brilliant, and fortunate enough to get that first captaincy under my belt as a vice. And the following year, I said to the club, I've had my turn now. No. And David Evans, Welsh President, Welsh Secretary, Dave, Barry Evans' father. No, you captain this year as well. He said, you were vice last year. I said, well, I've done it from the start. And I was fortunate enough to do exactly the same with a great set of boys.
Where were those finals played in them days?
In London, Wales.
It was in London, Wales,
yeah.
Lifting that trophy, was it heavy?
The Mecca of Welsh bowling.
They couldn't have seen you when you lifted that trophy. You're not that tall, really.
No.
How did you build?
I
know you're laughing. I know
I'm not saying anything.
No, it's a great. I read it up last night. We were talking about it last night, and it's a You're an achievement. I didn't realise you were captain now for 2 years.
Yeah, I was fortunate.
And 6 times in 8 years.
That's. I think that is just as impressive as 3 in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about. I know you had a great group of guys, and we'll come on to a kind of a question we do want to ask in a little bit. But you look at some of the best teams now, right? And you don't see many even repeats, let alone 3 in a row or even 6 in 8 years. You're looking at maybe 1 or 2 in 8 years. Right?
RTB, they equalled it. I don't think RTB beat that. I don't think they went 4 in a row, but they went 3 in a row recently, didn't they? And
I haven't looked. If I'm honest with you, I looked just.
They went 3 in a row, but I think they needed 4 last year at the Padawan one. But then we were in them years. We played them in the quarterfinals, and it was close games. Like 1 year we had 3 ranks up.
Last year didn't Cross Keys get the final?
Yeah.
Cross Keys won it.
Extra end in the semis against Harlequins, isn't it?
Yeah.
Padawan.
Do you want to bring it up? Do you want to do some driving questions?
I will in a second, but I do want to ask Jamie a quick question first, because he has mentioned how many good players Pont have produced in the 20 odd years you've been there. One of the things we did want to kind of ask is, in your opinion, and you can explain why, or if you don't answer it, that's fine too. Best player to come out of the Pont event. And you can't say Billy if you want to, because I agree with you.
That's a very, very hard question.
Would be a hard question.
I will answer, but I don't know if I can give it justice to.
Give us top 3 then. You can name a couple if you want to name a couple.
Honestly, the first name that I got to mention first of all is I don't offend any of the boys at all. Certainly is William Thomas. Mm-hmm. William Thomas, 100 caps out of the world, multiple caps indoors, won, I understand, gold medals in Commonwealth Games, represented in all aspects. William now is still like a rock of bowls. He's called Mr. Bowls for a simple reason that William, he never changes. He has mellowed a bit, well, if you are watching this, right?
All listening.
He, honestly, that is a very, but we had so many. Di Wilkins now, I'm probably doing Di was equally as good as William. Equally, some say Will, some says Di. But Di was a different player, a different person, which I love, and I love the family to death. But there was amazing group of boys. You had, there's even the unknown named players, the likes of Ian Shepherd, Terry Fitzpatrick, Sammy Lewis, boys that if you spoke to a lot of boys wouldn't know their names. But them boys, because they were village boys, they didn't want international honours, right? But they were honestly
just as good.
They were as good, right? But they didn't. And we used to have a little saying, right, in Pont River was the front end when that's on in Commonwealth, the Critters, the league, right? Because they just done what they didn't. Pont River are not a light club, right? Pont River, because we had a lot of good success. We didn't have arrogance. We did have a little bit of cockiness, but not arrogant. But you got to do that to win games.
Is that cockiness or is it confidence?
Bit of both, actually.
Bit of both, yeah. You look at any other sport, any good sports person, team,
you've got to be confident.
Have got to have that confidence, and that then is interpreted by other people.
But there is a fine line, though. You can't if you get that overconfidence, you can sometimes stumble a little bit. So I'm going to ask, where does your father fit into all of this? We know how good of a bowler he is. Do you think he could compete with the people he mentioned?
Well, I didn't see them. I'm going off stories. But seeing now, still playing, like, you've got a lot of health, etc. I think if them health implications weren't there, I think you'd be internationals going on to that level. But, like, listening off stories is, you can't really say. You can't, like, obviously I'm biased as well, so it's like it's
It
hard.
won't be.
It's like I think you can win the Commonwealth, you can do that, but then obviously going through like eyes, you can see a Jack, feet, so many times not playing, transplants to still compete. Like the day you got called for the transplant, still skipping with Talbot mid game and still wins. Like there's a lot.
Just for you, and I hope you don't mind me, just for people who are listening and watching this, you struggled with your diabetes for many years now, and you've gone through some ill health or what have you. So that's when we talk about ill health, just for people to understand. But to achieve what you have done with them health issues, you can see it over there. You can see he's proud of his dad, as his dad is proud of his son. So it's great to have you here and sharing them. But he can be a pain in the arse as well.
No comment.
Yeah, we're going to come on to that in a second.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to come on to that in a second. So we're going to do some quick fire. We're going to do some what we call our driving questions.
Yeah. So this segment is basically just a way to break things up, right? We obviously talk quite in depth with stuff, but driving questions are basically 5 quick questions, obviously like a drive would be. You both answer, so you'll have Jamie, you'll answer the first, and then you'll answer after your father's done. Just quick answers, they're going to be just random stuff.
I'll tell you what, let's do it the other way. Let's let Billy answer first. Just forgive Jamie. His old head, I know what it's like. Your old head takes time to think a little bit, doesn't it? So we do it the other way around. We give him some thinking time.
So,
No.
Right, you guys ready for these? Okay, so like I said, these are just going to be kind of quick questions. Just try and answer them as quickly as possible. They're a bit of fun. Doesn't mean too much. Okay, so question 1: Indian or Chinese? Neither. Indian. Question 2: iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
No phone.
Number 3: favorite green?
Cheltenham.
Ooh, we said
Quick fire
question.
Britain Ferry.
Number 4: favorite drink? Can be alcoholic or non-alcoholic. It's drink for you and you.
Lemonade and blackcurrant.
Stella.
And lastly, this one's going to be a bit of fun. Go-to pairs partner.
Julian Austin.
Yeah. He doesn't say you back, buddy. Don't even say you
But I
back.
say we haven't, it's only our first year playing, so played with Martin, Jeff come up, so I can't really say he's...
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's
That's
not it, there, Jamie. He went for you and you went for somebody else.
So now, obviously, just to kind of finish off the podcast, we're gonna talk about kind of just basic general stuff, right? Things that are coming up. Obviously, clarify a few things. Just anything you really want to talk about and kind of get through. Obviously, we talked about captain under 18s. We talked about the experiences you've had growing up. But obviously, this podcast is to describe people's experiences with bowls, right? Not just good bowlers, but beginners like obviously we are. And just to expose that platform for bowlers as a whole. So obviously you guys both play for Pont, very successful club, play for Talbot indoors. What are some of the kind of, we talked a little bit about that outdoor feeling and that camaraderie of team with the outdoors is a little bit different to indoors, but what's kind of the 2 big differences for you guys, kind of indoor and outdoor, and do you want to elaborate a little bit on that?
It's a bit of an unusual because the boys you play with indoor, you play against outdoor, and I find that, like I say, being around the game a long time now, and you build friendships up, and you also build up a little bit of, arguments, etc. through the years of certain clubs. As a younger man, I certainly didn't like certain things in the game, and this is not the place to mention it. But then you realise when you go indoor, then that's all put behind, and then you go and play with them, and you enjoy the company. You don't realise then, was it you? Was it the green? Was it the situation where, as you know, boys, you play balls, it can get a little heated at times, you know what I mean? But I do find that it's a massive difference between indoor and outdoor. it's a smaller group of boys outdoor, unless you play county level, etc., Billy's level, and international, things like that. But honestly, indoor is a lot more. There's 6 rinks, and like outdoor, you tend to go back and have a drink with your boys, your mates, or whatever, food, this and that. Indoor now, with the COVID sort of ruling came about, and then nobody seems to, you know what I mean, sort of mix a lot indoor like it used to be. You know
Probably, I think it's more to do with the weather, to be honest. Like, you go outdoor, right? Outdoor, you finish in 6 o'clock on a Saturday, but it's still light outside, it's warm, it's like, oh, let's just, you know. Indoor, you finish the same time, right? Roughly, maybe a little bit later, but it's dark and it's miserable.
You just want to get home.
You want to get home then, a little bit. But I do agree. We obviously, you guys haven't played Bridgend in the last 2 years, or maybe not even been there, but for us as a club, like, we are a bit more modernised in the way we'll have music playing in certain games if the opponents are okay with it. We get 30 people coming down watching us from the you know, we're quite a well-membered club. You know, I know Carruthers, when you went to Lamp with was it 2 years ago now?
Was it? Yeah, one last year was year before.
They took a 52-seater
bus,
40 of them went down to support, and they just went, you know, they were just loud, they cheered, but that's kind of, you know, we talked about it with Nicky, and obviously in our first episode, but I don't know how you guys feel about it, but that's kind of where bowls is going a little bit, right? You talk about it with the BPL and certain, like, obviously the Welsh Internationals, Nicky was telling us, they were kind of required to play music out in some of the series and stuff.
My first series in 2019, there was music. Couldn't wear shorts at that time, but there's music.
What was the music like though? That might have been.
I couldn't tell you.
I can tell you, it's not. If it wasn't for the under 18s. Doris Day in the background.
That was last year, last year's music was wrong.
Can I just bring in, we're talking about outdoor and indoor, but I want to go back to Pont event now then, right? And you can either choose to answer this or not, but what's this muted talk I'm hearing on the possibilities of Pont event going into the Eastern Private Leagues league?
Can I answer that one?
Can you answer that?
Or do you want to answer it?
You don't have to answer. I don't want to push you boys into a corner, but there is obviously muted talk that you're going to do that.
Well, it's out there. There's nothing to lie. There's nothing to say. We've had our meeting, and
We're applying.
Yeah, they're applying to join next year.
There's clarify, a lot of people think we're leaving the Neath League and leaving our all behind, but the plans is to have 2 teams.
Okay.
I know you guys have 2 teams.
Yeah.
I don't know how we're going to do it with the numbers, but the boys seem confident that we're going to do it. So you'll have, especially with Pont, you'll have a lot of people being like, oh, they're leaving the Neath League behind, they're letting it all go, etc. It's not happening. As far as I'm aware, and as far as all the members are aware, we're having 2 teams. So we're not leaving the Neath League behind. We are going for both.
Yeah. And you know, I've started doing a bit of research, trying to find out how many different leagues there are in bowls in Wales, and it's a minefield to find out how many different leagues there are all over the place. But if we play in Eastern Private Leagues, I mean, if you look at currently some of the bigger names have got to the finals of Carruthers in recent years, most of them at the current time play in that Eastern Private Leagues, and in the top you've got your Penalans, you've got your Harlequins, RTB, Llanbrada, the West End, Athletic, and I'm obviously missing a few there. I've got them in front of me. Are we going towards a sort of a Welsh league, a whole Welsh league? Would that ever work, or is it just too much travelling?
It'd be too much travelling, I think. You couldn't go to. You'd have to break it up into counties then, and then
Like,
basically
you just go back to square one.
started.
They did try talking about it a few years
The
ago.
Premier League, wasn't it?
There's a Premier, yes, you know, and
But that could work, and then you could have regions where you have your second tier and then your Premiership, and you're trying to get into that Premiership, and your Premiership travel maybe.
Yeah, you'd have to have the government putting in some funding for that. I mean, you know, you're talking about it with some of us, right? We're travelling 45 minutes sometimes for the PG.
Well, now maybe. Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like,
And that's Division 4.
And that's going to be for you boys as well. You know, you're going to have to.
15 minutes, 20 minutes as well, and there's a lot of thing about the travelling, especially in our club, and without going into too much detail,
It's the same for
Travelling
everything.
is hard. That's the reality with the outdoor bowls, and indoor as well. It's hard to travel for a lot of people.
My personal opinion on it is that I think you should play local leagues, to support, because obviously what we've taken out of the Game Pont event, it's nice to give back to the leagues, because if we did leave or we struggle to get 2 sides, which personally I think we will, because Bolt's not getting numbers through.
But it's start recruiting some players there.
As I say,
Do you want to join?
It's one of them where, personally, the travelling, like, my left, etc. It's not just about me now, but I understand for the youngsters, and we were fortunate enough back in the day, we had so many class teams in our division, with Glencorrugs, the Neath Towns, Aberavons, the Ferry Boys. There was never a bad, and it was, so every Saturday to us was like a Crothers game back in the 80s, 90s, 2000s. It was class, but it's like declining in health and older generation now.
We do look regional though. I started bowls at 18, and I played for about 4 or 5 years down in a club called Pendine down in West Wales. They're part of the Pembrokeshire League. But then you've got your big clubs down there. I suppose you're talking about your Tenbys and your Saundersfoots, your Pembroke Docks, and Pembroke, or Haverfordwest, and all of them are clubs down west. They will have lots of great players there in that region. You will have people in Ceredigion and Powersway. They will have lots of players they will remember. And that's the way all over. It's just a long distance to travel for everybody. It's not the easiest to get around, is it?
And it's about the finances as well, isn't it? You know what I mean? Clubs struggle, and they maintain now with the councils, etc., backing out of.
Yeah.
And you've got to run your own greens, and the work that you've got to do and the money you've got to plough in, and then on top of that now the travelling expense, and it works both ways. Obviously with us travelling away, now every one of them teams got to travel to us as well, and that's the thing. It's I don't know. Personally, like I said, I'm over to the game now, and it's not for me. But if it's the way forward, it's the way forward.
Yeah, the travelling obviously is always going to be an issue, especially if, like I said, if you're looking to kind of keep that top level alive. You look at it. We talk about obviously loads of the Crothers, finalists are looking at that Division 1 in EPG, but you also look at kind of the Welsh teams now, right? And you'll see a lot of them, like Harlequins is a big one, Merthyr West End's another big one. They're getting the youngsters, and that's kind of why that kind of, like you talked about, right? The older generation's kind of falling out a little bit. That young generation starting to grow a bit older and replace them a little bit. You see a lot of those top clubs picking up a lot of youngsters, and that's kind of where all the youngsters are going. They're kind of almost congregating into one place, and you get your odd couple that are here, there, everywhere, but most of them seem to be quite compact and in one place when it comes to that. And
we found that, especially with us in Pont event, we were like the magnet for this is why I think a lot of clubs don't like us, or not don't like us, is the wrong type of word, but it was that we attracted so many of the better players, and of course then it meant then that we were really strong for our local league, probably a bit too strong for lots of other, but it was also nice for them to compete against good players, and they still compete. And many a time we were beaten hands down many a time by local clubs, and fair play, it's.
Yeah, I think it's natural for players to go and want to play for the best teams. It's just a natural thing that you want to. Certainly for youngsters,
Well, it's the politics in the whole, sporting world. It's not just sport, but anyway, you play for a really good team. The chances are the Welsh will see you, and you're going to start getting trials.
Like I said earlier, that's why one of the reasons I went from great club to chasing the honours.
If you're playing for a team that's in the 7th division of the EPG, yes, you could still be a very good player and really be probably top quality, but the chances are you're probably not going to be looked at as much as you would be playing for Harlequins.
There is an exception to that, isn't there?
There are some exceptions.
And the exception is sitting right there in front of us, really, because if you establish yourself quite quickly and you've got that talent and you get into the setup, into the Welsh under-18s at an early age and what have you, you don't feel, do you feel, or shall I ask you, do you feel the need to move, Billy, because of
outdoors now.
Yeah.
No, because at this time, obviously, if I moved, it's hard. Like obviously, you have to go to a new club, new accommodations for tournaments, and the travelling. Obviously, I don't drive, so it's the travelling would be hard. But I think I'm quite lucky as well. Pont isn't part of that as such anymore, but it's still a name and known. You still look at the last year exception, but you look at the nationals, like you had Ben and Jeff get into the pair semis. You've got I was lucky I got to the triple semis 2 years ago, and like as long as you get into them nationals as such, it don't matter. And obviously with the selectors, then selectors don't go watch club matches; they go watch county matches, and you play. You get seen, I think, especially in the new sector.
I genuinely think it's changed from earlier days where you have to be a player in a name club. You know, I may be wrong, and if I am, I apologise, but there was lesser clubs that, I don't want to name them, but boys would join and would go there, and they knew that more or less then they wouldn't be recognised. Back with if we weren't in the first division, playing for the first division side, your name wouldn't normally get put through. It's changed now, you know what I mean? And you know, we've got clubs, especially in our own division, and I'll pick on one, Ferry Combine. What an outstanding prospect they got of class, you know, Reece Caldwell, Mickey Brain, all the youngsters coming through there, you know, with the experience of the fathers, the grandfathers, etc. What a club they're going to be, you know what I mean, in time. And like I say, you know, and I you know, we were always sort of, you know, to get on in the game, you have to go to you know what I mean, where you get involved with like Billy Flynn tournaments. And I was fortunate to play with Jeff and Dave Wilkins and lots of tournaments with Welsh regularly. It was brilliant. But like the same, you know, I'll pick on Reece Caldwell. Reece, now fair play, he stuck with his grandfather and had a great club, and they're going to reap the rewards now, where Reece never chased go into Pont with a van or go win. And he made it through, isn't he, as an exceptional player, like, you know, you know.
There's like Reece, he never, as much as we asked and wanted him to come to Pont Revere, stuck by him, and
I never asked, he asked.
He just wants some younger age people to hang out with, that's all he wants.
It's never affected him. You could ask him, I think he'd agree with me. I don't think it's affected him as such. He's got internationals. He's getting into the nationals. I think and it's a lovely green, man. I don't know, especially with the lower clubs. No way they're a lower club anymore. But you look, there's always a thing of having a bad green. But I'd say it's the best green in our county myself.
I said earlier when Matt asked me, and over the years they've been, you know, a class, and back, well, I'd say, know that you're talking mid-80s, but the Welsh team went there to practice. That's how good a green it grew, you know, and it's like any green, you know, it takes a while to get back to a certain level, but, you know, they did a solid foundation there.
It's interesting as well, because they got two clubs there, and I'm quite lucky, obviously, with Reece, Mikey, and with the other side, I get on, and I practice there a lot. Sometimes, like before the under-25s, I went there recently. You can really see they're not a two-club divide. Yes, they're two different teams, but they get on so well. They all get involved. And I think I think it's great myself.
That's how you keep a club running.
I think it's refreshing what I've just heard, because again, I'm new into the board. We've set up an academy. Now, a lot of clubs will get the one or two. Son or grandson will come along and start playing for a club. Now that child, he or she could be super talented, They don't have to leave their family to go to play for a bigger club anymore to get noticed. They can get noticed where they are and playing, So, you know, I think that's good, because clubs then will develop their youngsters and they don't have to lose them to a bigger club or a bigger name club, or what people think.
But this goes back to then entering PGs. Is it important that you're in the PGs to be in that level? Well, not necessarily, because you see in players doing it, but then it brings it. Should they be playing at the highest standard? It's
Yeah.
not.
Well, it's from, like, you know, you just talked about it. You play better players, you get better. That's the reality of it, right? You know, you've been lucky enough to be playing with some high quality caliber players and that kind of stuff. You know, and I've been lucky enough that, you know, I've had a few Welsh nationals that I got to play with over the last 2 years. Like, I'm only a year and a half into bowls. Like, I'm not even 2 years deep into bowls yet. And some of the people I've played with is like, been, you know, something that's always going to help me move forward. And, you know, I had a really good end of season outdoor for my first year last year, obviously playing lead and, you know, sticking to that position. And I think as a lead, I think I only lost one game out of 6 or 7 in the EPG last year. And that was, most of those were all away. We lost.
He didn't quite get through the club championship, so I'm going to say
did beat. And you should have bloody won it too, but then you bagging it up in the last end.
Sons always beat the fathers, I heard. But
we've talked a lot this morning. I think it's a really good way to finish off, I suppose, because we have spoke for a long time. Where's that question?
The bottom one.
Is there too much firing in the modern game?
I'll tell you what, I know how this is going to go. We'll have you two against us two and debating what the answer is.
Is there too much firing in the modern game? Come on, Jimmy.
Right, there's a couple of things here. Now, there was no bigger idiot in a game of driving than me when I was Billy Such. And the people that's listening to this, the older school will know. I kept a park keeper down at Vivian Park in a job because we placed the battens every day. Because me and Julian Austin kept driving. But we did have a little bit of a sort of, you know, we were pretty accurate. And if we weren't accurate, we were hard enough so the men wouldn't see it, they'd run. But I will be honest, and I will plug his name here, Martin Johnson. Magic, we all know Magic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Martin changed me. I'll tell you straight. Because Martin plays a different game than most. And because of illness, bad eyes, etc., I played lead for Martin. And Martin changed me just to draw. So of course, when your mindset has changed, and then Boyo comes about, and wants to drive at bare white when he's holding 3. It sort of changes your sort of stress levels.
What his stress levels or your stress levels?
Put it this way, my wife is very understanding, and she got told me go for a cup of tea. So, but I understand. I've always said, and that again, this is fetching great company back into it. Is there's a right way and a wrong way. There's a right way to play a game, and there's a wrong way, and there's the right shot. And maybe if it's not the right shot, if you think it's the right shot, it's the right shot.
Mm.
And if you're confident in playing it, so yes, the drive is a big, like I said, I was an idiot at it, right? And I won't lie to you. I still will play it when it's right.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing youngsters, but like I said early on, youngsters see a different game to us. They got no fear.
No.
Do you think they play too much then?
Yes.
Billy, what's your thoughts, mate?
Right.
Regretfully.
I don't know. I'm similar. I went accurate. I just sling them down as hard as I could. But now I think I've changed. I skip in like with William, same again. Play with Martin, William, and obviously skipping yourself. I feel my game has changed a lot, and even to lead in, obviously like led in the under 25s. I felt that since then I think I just like playing on a Saturday now. I don't really drive flat out. I do draw.
It's a much more controlled, like that couple of yard weight thing,
yeah.
You know, and if you have to go hard, you will now get. But you're so good at it. But I've seen it time and time again.
That's to be debated. But
you know, we've only played in Baton, but I'm sure that the boys in all the other big stadiums across Wales. They've got the younger players who also drive quite often, you know. We've seen yourself, Mikey Brain likes a bit of a drive, doesn't he?
He's a draw player, Mikey.
He's a draw player. Reece Caldwell?
No, Reece is
Reece is a draw player.
Yeah, Reece is a
Yeah, I did play him the other week.
He does.
He will go.
But I think with Reece, he'll, especially in those, if you give him
sees the
a
shot,
shot, truly,
doesn't he?
you'll know he's going to draw it.
I have to ask that question because I sat with your father. I can't remember the game, but it was.
It was the game
you went to have that cup of tea because.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, I totally agree. I think, you know, especially being a brand new bowler, you know, you guys know Ken Taylor from our club. Ken said, I want you to lead for 5 years and then you can do what you want. That's basically what he said. He said, just do, and obviously Craig as well, Craig Pritchard, obviously you guys would be playing with Adam on the weekend, but Craig said he used to fire all the time until he played with Ken. And now, since he's played with Ken, he's a much better drawer than he is firer. And
it is a little bit different outdoor to indoor as well, isn't it?
Funny enough, I was going to say this now.
Indoor seems a little bit easier to get your fires down because you can hold the line a bit.
Well, you're not re-spotting outdoor, you can kill an end, can you? That's the thing. You can kill an end.
What do you think is easier to drive indoor?
Well, you know, personally, the way when I used to, it didn't really matter because I was just like down like Billy said, and it was basically wrong.
So you want to blame for him then?
100%, it's in the genes, and I'm so glad that I changed, and before he sort of was developing the game, you know, because, you know, with illness, feet, whatever things, I had to slow down and I wouldn't be here. And what I've seen with Billy, I know he's my Brian, like you say, you know, I treat Billy, I watch Billy play now and I treat him knowing, like, when I used to feel with playing with William and Di Wilkins and especially John Price, knowing that if we played together and we're in a bit of trouble, which sometimes happens on the wing, because you know, boys, Billy is skip, and I know Billy now is going to do the business, and that's something that you don't always get with certain level of players.
Yeah.
And now what I've certainly noticed this year, Billy's matured into a greater. He reads the game better. Like I said, there's a right shot and a wrong shot, in my opinion, and it's only my opinion. But I've noticed with Billy that he's picked the better shots now. I know it's taken years of me losing my hair through it, but
I'm to blame for that.
he's gone through that level that he's come out of it a bit quicker. It took me a lot longer to come out of it, and you know, and I only come out of it because of experience around you boys, and it's just, and that's the thing, you know. But it's a big part of the game, and outdoor, I don't want to sound no disrespect to any clubs, but some of the greens you've got to play and you've got to drive early now, boys, to clear ends,
because you won't get
around, and you know, and it's all been indoor now. You've got to drive early now because you can't get around Pont to Pont.
Just to reach.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, you know, we talk about it, Billy's maturity and stuff, and obviously the 2 years that I've known you, last year and this year, I mean, this year you've been outstanding. Like, you know, I know it sounds a bit like, but I love watching you play bowls. I you know, the way that you understand the game, especially, you know, I'm a sports person through and through. I know I don't know a lot about bowls compared to a lot of people, but you can always tell that kind of that different level with people, especially in sports. And I just go back to the game we played Connectley, right, where you had to skip against Chad, right, and there was that one fire shot you had to play coming up to the bar. You were on rink one for like the third time in a row or whatever it may have been, and you had like nothing. You know, you had no chance of getting around. You know, it was on that right side near the ditch. It was just a hard shot, and you played this kind of weighted shot that's just taken the jack into the ditch and picked up three. Like, and you were down like 1 or 2, and it was just like
six.
Six was it? It was unbelievable. There was like small gap, and he's just.
He picked up 6.
But it was like, you know, and then the next end you would draw 2 to like that far, right? And you were like, well, that's the I think that's the difference with your game at the moment, is you're able to play those both quite at a high level.
It just comes down to confidence as well. I think, like we said about international, whether or not they should be leading, etc. Last year, I felt they had a decent season, playing third last year. But I think if you've got the confidence, and at the minute I back my game, not right, like back the drive. I backed my drive over my draw. I now back my draw over my drive. But I think if you've got the confidence and it's in your game and you're feeling good, you can do anything. Something like this.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I tell you what, we've talked about so many different things this morning and what have you, but I think we probably wrap it up now.
Probably wrap it up there. Yeah.
I've got a couple of things I'm going to say before we wrap it up, though. But yeah, you've got a couple of new caps, for next week.
Yeah.
A couple of new caps. You've got some good experience there, no? Yourself and Elijah, Tal, a couple of the other boys from Merthyr. I don't know all their names, I apologise. But
It's good. Obviously, you've got me and Elijah, under 25s, been together, going to go together hopefully throughout.
Yeah.
But you've got so much, like you've got Tal, Jack Davis, but the new caps, obviously you've got Jack Evans coming now.
Yeah.
I'm playing pairs with him. I think he's great. He bowls, thinks about the game, bowls. But the girls, you've got Cara coming. You've got so many people. Adam now, he's coming through first cap.
Yeah.
But I think as well this year, obviously, with the under 18s, there's been a thing that if you're under 18, you're gonna get it. But it's not. You got players that sadly been dropped.
Yeah.
From a series, you got so many players indoor and out as well. You've seen. It all depends how you come back at it. And good mate now. Tal was in the series in Abbeville. Sadly, he got dropped last year. But he's come back so much better. He's changed his bowls. He's come back, and you see him. Like we had a practice session yesterday, and you see him bowl, and you just see the confidence back, and you see the standard. And
Yeah. Well, we're going through it, with our academy. We got young Ruby Billingham. Ruby unfortunately didn't make the team this time, but I'm hoping she just picks up and because she's got the talent and she come back stronger. It's just getting over them down points in it.
That's ultimately how that will separate you from being there to not being there. That there's a lot of people in the game that if they don't get in, they just quit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if you're going to be like that, then it's not the sport for you. Ultimately, you just got to come back, and yes, it's going to hurt. It is going to hurt. It's going to be, but if you come back twice as hard, and you just got to keep on knocking on the door, give the selectors our job. That's what it comes down to, like.
So, from us on Bowls Breakdown Podcast, we wish you and the team all the best. We're going to be there with you. We'll be there with you. Hopefully, we're going to do some live streaming. We're just waiting for the OK still. But for today, gentlemen, thank you very much, Jamie. It's been a pleasure. And Billy, you're a top man. Yeah. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for listening. If you like what you're hearing or viewing, can you subscribe on YouTube, like on Facebook, and we're also now on Spotify. If you're on a long car journey and you want to listen to something, then listening on Spotify. Thank you very much.